Now, for those of you who come off the drug habit, ecstasy leads to wisdom as well. Now, ecstasy is a condition that occurs when the body transcends the mind without the loss of consciousness. I'm sure some of us have experienced that, whether it be, psychologically or through induced means. Bruce Wiltshire states in Greek, come on, William. Ecstasis means standing out from the points of space where one body's occupied, so wherever it may be, wherever, and to stand out in the surrounding world and to be caught and possessed by it. The world owns me in a strange sense, but I own it. And he concludes, which I totally agree, if you're in awe of something, you can overcome any addiction. My problem is I've got to get rid of food at the moment.
Hi there, Adrian here, and this is a video from a Zoom session that we do. We do these Zoom sessions every Sunday and we take questions and answers from the audience. Some of our students, some of our members. We never know what questions are coming up, so I'm always excited to do these sessions and I hope to see you at one of them. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below and check out the other playlists that we have. Thank you, enjoy. Thank you all very much for coming. 𝘱𝘐𝑚𝑦 𝐸𝘩𝘪𝑜𝑥, thank you guys extra for having your cameras on. William, thank you very much for coming today. We had great feedback from your last session, and a lot of us, even those that have been, coaching training for X years, absolutely loved it to bits. There was some stuff in there that I've seen a long time ago, and there's stuff in there that I'm still yet to discover. I know there's a lot more for us to all learn and get into tonight. So William has unofficially been ordained the Bishop of NLP by Richard Bandler. And if you didn't know, Richard Bandler created the NLP. So to have the person that created this thing, which has 50,000 students around the world, for this kind of person to unofficially ordain William as a Bishop of NLP is a big deal, but it's also a little bit humorous and it shows the funny side and the lightheartedness. So if you want to feel more of your heart and feel more light, you're definitely in the right place. William spoke a lot about light the last time we were here, light, energy, frequencies, and some people were very surprised. Some people were so surprised that a lot of the stuff he shared was actually discovered by scientists and was actually proven technologies that had avoided mainstream detection. So if you want to know more about not just wisdom, but perhaps deeper levels on the way the world works, you're really in the right place here. So whether you're excited or just kind of curious, you're in the right place. Now, William, would you like questions as we go, or would you prefer questions towards the end?
Well, I think some of the questions will be answered on the way through. So I'd prefer them towards the end, unless anyone's really itching to ask that question. Perhaps you could check it out to make sure it's a reasonable question and then interject if you would, Adrian. Is that okay?
Yep. And do feel free to use a chat window as well. We love seeing some chat. If you want to chat there, go ahead and share it. Now, William's an extra special trainer for you, as he has done a lot of the NLP training that we do here in Motivate. He's done a lot of this training back in the day. And now NLP isn't something you just learn. We've got four levels of learning. We've got the unconscious uncompetence, which for a lot of people might be eye patterns. You might be unaware of eye patterns. So it's unconsciously something that you don't pay attention to. And then when you learn eye patterns, you move up to the second level of conscious uncompetence. That's when you start to know what you don't know. And then you start to know and you start to practice, and then you move up to the fourth level of expertise of unconscious excellence. So when you first learn something, you're often down here, like this is new and I never know about it. So William has gone through all those levels and it takes time. He's learned and integrated the whole NLP frequencies and a whole lot more, plus activating it inside business chambers. in the UK and in China. So it's a great pleasure that I bring him here today. And I'm going to shut up and let you get your groove on, William. Thank you all very much for coming. William.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you so much. It's very kind of you, and your words were too gracious, I can assure you. Well, welcome everybody. And we're going to sort of chat around wisdom today. And of course, wisdom is not only Socrates as the ideal man who gave us the idea of wisdom and how we can attain it, but it's Plato, Pythagoras, Da Vinci, you name them, they're everywhere. They've always have been all through the history in reality. But many people are born naturally with wisdom, and many of us can carry through with it, but many of us fail to recognize it. And in actual fact, we lose it as we grow a little bit older. But there are many pathways, and we're going to explore many of them today. And I hope that we all gain something from it. If you don't gain from it, think about it, watch the recording, and gain something from it then. So nothing is new, just newly rediscovered. As you can see, Adrian kindly mentioned that Richard Bandler accredited me with being a bishop of NLP. It was a fun moment. I remember it very clearly until this very day, because the madman ran around in my head, in my neurological system, for about a month during my dreams. But on a more saner note, I'm 𝘱𝘠𝘪𝘴𝘥𝘐𝑸𝑅𝑒𝑑 certified master practitioner, and 𝘱𝑠ₛ is the sane man and Bandler is the madman. They're both perfect, the yin and the yang, if you wish. Now, NLP, as Adrian said, is very useful, and I would advise anyone, if they're interested in NLP, to approach someone like Adrian for training and certification. But of course, there are others, and so it's explore whatever you feel comfortable with. I've been in China since 2006, having fun, a visiting professor of the Belt and Road International Talent Fund, a certified supplier to the UK trade of industry, and for fun again, because it's really always important to have fun. That's so important. An 𝘭𝑝, self-awarded, the Order of the Beijing Entrepreneurs. There's so many people there, we ought to start a club, I think. And I am in the moment practitioner. So what happened a few moments ago when I told you about that is gone. So what's happening now is the most important. Now, does truth go through three stages? And the first one, is it ridiculed? Is it violently opposed? And then does it become very self-evident? I think it's something that we've witnessed through various times of history, and in recent, perhaps COVID times, who knows? Now, Socrates was really a man full of wisdom. And as he says, and I'd like to read this out fully because it is meaningful. No one can really teach. And if by teaching we mean the transmission of knowledge in any mechanical fashion from one person to another, the most that can be done is that one person who is more knowledgeable than the other can, by asking a series of questions, stimulate the other to think, and so cause himself or herself to learn. Really interesting, that. Now, what is wisdom? There's so many questions, so many routes, as we mentioned. Do we really understand wisdom? Do we know what it looks and feels like? Where do we find it? Why do we need it? And how do we finally know we have become wiser and found that wisdom? So let's explore this together. There's no one definite path. There's no one path that we can say will work. It's for us to discover the paths for ourselves. But is wisdom a morality that is mostly lost? But can it be gained or regained through our experience? And can anyone who is interested in trying new things and thinks about the process have the ability to gain wisdom? Can, by learning as much as we are able, examining experiences, whilst putting that knowledge to the test, become a wiser person? And as the Chinese saying goes, she who knows the world has knowledge. She who knows herself is wise. Really important. Okay, now this is a bit of a mindset situation as well. So here, all you lovely young people on the left, I would like you to imagine yourselves reaching your own level of optimum level of wisdom. Now, it could be Einstein, it could be Sophia, the goddess of wisdom, it could be even Socrates himself, or it could be your own imagination, whatever suits you, with a lady there. It could be a man, could be anyone. So please allow yourself, with your own permission, to reach your own optimal level, because when you reach that, and now, every now moment is connected. Now, there are two types of knowledge. There's explicit knowledge, which is to know what things are, and there's tacit or implicit knowledge, and knowledge that's acquired through experience and is easy to communicate. Excuse me. So tacit knowledge is know-how, as opposed to explicit knowledge, which is to know what. So in actual fact, implicit knowledge means that we know more than we can actually tell. And sometimes we are not aware of actually what we know. And this can include personal wisdom, insight, experience, and intuition. The wisdom gap, an interesting perspective. We learn by copying, but sometimes we do not know what we are copying. And sometimes some of that copying, actually we don't consciously know what we are copying. An interesting thought. But with experience, we gradually obtain a knack, if you wish, of who or what personality traits which are good and those sort of things to copy. And this creates a store of memories to pull upon in the future. This also creates mental habits, our own mental habits and routines within the subconscious mind. Now, remember, some are good, but some are pretty bad. So it's always sensible to be aware of what you're taking in, if possible. And of course, helping to develop other people's own intuition or wisdom. Many religions have their own perspective on wisdom. And Buddha, whom we all very well known to all of us, he says, wisdom is gained by listening to others, or intellectual and analytical thinking and understanding. And of course, wisdom is based on personal experience, which we just mentioned just now. And that's from the 𝘱𝘢𝘵𝑗𝑗. Now, Michael Carroll says, my search has led me to a novel idea of human knowledge from which a harmonious view of thought and existence rooted in the universe seems to emerge. Human knowledge stems from the fact that we can know more than we can tell. So we're beginning to get like a thread through what's happening with this wisdom. Whoops, one way, try that. Also, with Buddhist wisdom, the superior wisdom is seeing that in reality, all phenomena are incomplete, temporary and not of the self. This comprehension is totally freeing and conducts to the great security and happiness, which in Buddhism is called nirvana. And true wisdom comes in each of us when we realize how little we understand about life, ourselves, and the world around us. The only true wisdom is in knowing that in actual fact, one knows nothing. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Again, that's common sense to many people, but sometimes it has to be said yet again. And wisdom is which directs information towards the good, toward the creation of value. Now, in other people's view, there's other ingredients to wisdom. One is purity. That's wisdom. So wisdom will remove all the dross. That's not the right word, probably. Remove all the rubbish. It will simply raise the value. That's if it's pure, rather like a pure metal. Peaceability, well, that's calm and harmonious, which is runs throughout many people's lives and many people's cultures. Compassion, the ability to forgive, that is very, very important. Through this process, many religions say you forgive, what have you. It's very difficult to do sometimes, I must say. But it really shows compassion is probably one of the most important parts of becoming wise. Impartiality. Wisdom will honor the difference between different cultures, different people, different views. And also gets value out of the complexity of life. Some people call it diversity, which is fine, but whatever suits you, whatever term you wish to use. And wisdom sometimes comes by taking risks. That's making mistakes and learning by experience. My goodness, many of us have done that. I certainly have, that's for sure. My dear friend Einstein, he says, I'm trying to get in here, let me find them. He says, keep things simple. You know my feeling on that. Because out of clutter, you should find simplicity. Find harmony. From discord, find harmony. Someone else trying to come in here. Why am I getting everyone here? Sorry about that now. And in the middle of difficulty, there's always opportunity. So the usual thing, behind that cloud is always a silver lining. Oh, what's going on here? There we are. Now, wisdom has come through the ages through various things. Now, many of you who have involved in various religions know that the 10 Commandments was brought down from Mount Olive or wherever it was by Moses. But were they actually, was it wise, or were they just directives to keep people, in place at the time? Do not have any other gods. That's a directive, isn't it, really? Do not make graven images. Do not take God's name in vain. Keep the Sabbath. Well, one day, everyone normally has a day off during the week. Honor your father and mother. That comes through everywhere, even the Chinese culture. Do not murder. That's pretty sensible. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Do not lie. Do not covet or envy. So for the times, they're probably pretty good things. But also wisdom according to Muhammad. Now, through Muhammad's, it's quite, I've run through some of them, but it's fairly straightforward. Protect and honor the earth, for the earth is our mother. Avoid jealousy, greed, and regret. And actions are based on intentions. We all know that because our thoughts become our words, and our words become our deeds, and all this sort of thing. That's comes through NLP as well. And the best people are those who are most useful to others, to help others. And seeking knowledge is better than worship. For example, if you're no point wishing a bottle of water when you can get out and try and find where there's a lot more water to find, perhaps. And well, the other things, 1 hour's contemplation worth 60 years of worship, or the cure of ignorance is to ask and learn. Well, that's on the stage to wisdom as well. And do whatever you wish, but remember, you will receive whatever you cultivate. So remember, what you reap, you sow. Karma, I suppose, is another word for that. Now, Jewish wisdom, I don't know too much about the Jewish religion, but basically that's an overview as far as I can perceive. So perhaps someone can enlighten me on that at some stage. Now, what's really interesting, from Pythagoras to Jesus Christ. Now, this is one of the strange things in the world. Pythagoras, he believed that wisdom comes through the study of nature, personal initiation, and divine revelation. And that's called Gnostic wisdom. Now, if one researches the history of the Christian church, for example, comes from Jesus Christ, in actual fact, the first religions were of Gnostic nature. So they came from nature, and it came from personal experience, and it came from divine revelation. So, if you're interested in that sort of thing, that's really worth getting into. And that divine knowledge, which I believe we all have the ability to absorb that knowledge from wherever it may come from. In actual fact, that was one of the original religions as we knew it then, if you wish. Now, the Chinese, of course, have had thousands of years refining their wisdom, and they've had Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism. Now, Confucianism is really regarded an orderly society, if you wish, and active relationships and guide relationships. And Taoism is again yet about harmony, nature, a simple and passive life, and little government resistance. Well, you can guess that legalism was probably the one that came to the fore in China, which is fine. But always remember, no matter what you choose, if you do not, as Lancelot said, if you do not change your direction, you may end up where you're heading. Now that's an interesting one, because if you're thinking this one moment, you go that way, and oh my goodness, I'm going to think you've got to go that way. We've got to go. Life is interpolating, changing things as we go along. Now, Socrates, this is another thing that comes through for everyone. True knowledge exists knowing that we know nothing. And in reality, compared to what is available to know, we do know nothing. Now, steps to wisdom from Einstein. Think about this. I'll read them out, and just in your own mind, think about the three, your favorites. So he says, follow your curiosity, perseverance is priceless, focus on the present, the imagination is powerful, make mistakes, live in the moment, create value, and don't expect different results, especially if you're doing the same thing, of course. And knowledge, or wisdom, comes from experience. Learn the rules and play better. Now, my favorites are focus on the present, that's this very moment now, not before, not later on, but just now. And live in that moment, because I think it's really, oh, what's that? Yeah. Okay, so my favorites, as I mentioned to you, but also the important ones, create value. So just think about those and make a note which ones would actually you prefer. Do any of those make sense to you individually? I'm saying that the PowerPoint will be available online later, I believe, Adrian. So it'd be worth looking at that and just thinking about that yourselves. Now, there are many other models of wisdom as well. In Berlin, Paul Baltz suggests her wisdom to encapsulate, or his wisdom. Rich procedural knowledge of life, we've had that before. Rich factual knowledge of life, we've had about that before. An understanding of lifespan contexts, because we're only here for a finite period of time, as we know, well, certainly in this life anyway. And awareness of the relativeness of values and priorities, and the ability, which we all have to do, to recognize and manage uncertainty. Now that really is something we all a challenge with, especially this last couple of years. Now, computers speak wisdom. Wisdom comes in every shape or form. So therefore, at the bottom, we have the noise, the rubbish, that gradually becomes data, and that data we use information. And then from that information, we get knowledge and an understanding. And from that understanding, hopefully, we get some wisdom. And of course, the same sort of principle is not only from the computer, but is also to our own brain. But here's another description, if you can see it. It says, oh dear, artificial intelligence. So you have the same process, if you wish. You have noise, data, information, knowledge, meta-knowledge. Oh, that terrible word, meta, goodness me. That's the rules about knowledge, and wisdom. But that wisdom should be used in a beneficial way. But now we have artificial intelligence, which we're making that wisdom, I suppose, mechanical, robotic, whatever it may be. So it depends how that wisdom is actually programmed, whether it's going to be good or bad. We should see. Now, a reminder, please keep everything simple. Okay. Now, I like this one. The best church I've ever visited has been a grove of trees. So it's been in touch with nature. But, you know, it's not necessarily a church. It could be a synagogue. It could be, you know, the local village hall. It could be anything you want. So whatever fits your system. But nature is the essence of all things. Now, the simple act of paying attention can take you a long way. We all know that. We just need reminding of it sometimes. Now, in Florida, Monica Ardelt has a different view of wisdom. And she's proposed a model which is as a personality characteristic made up of the following three dimensions. That's cognition, reflection, and be effective to create a positive effect. Very important. So the effective, create something, to have a positive effect. An understanding cognition rather. An understanding of life is the desire to know the truth. According to Dilts, the cognitive dimension of wisdom refers to the person's ability to understand life. I don't think we'll ever understand life, but we've got to try to. That is to comprehend the significance and deeper meaning of phenomena and events, particularly with regard to the interpersonal, interpersonal and intrapersonal matters. That should be, that's right, intrapersonal, that's a closed personal, and the public personal matters, if you wish. Perception with reflection. Perceptions of phenomena and events from multiple perspectives, which requires self-reflection, always good to have a moment of self-reflection, awareness and insight. And she explains the reflective dimensions are prerequisite for the development of cognitive dimension of wisdom. A deeper understanding of life is only possible if one can perceive reality as it is without any major distortions. So remember, with NLP, we have our own map, but it's not necessarily the territory. So to do this, one needs to actually reduce one's self-centered ego. My goodness, there's a lot of ego going on in the world nowadays. Subjectivity and projections, and increase one's insight into the true, whatever the true may be, nature of things, including the motivation of one's own and other people's behaviors. Now remember that comes so much back to NLP again. Now to be effective, to make a useful effect. I think I've got the right way around. Sympathetic and compassionate love for others, that's care. The presence of positive emotions, behavior towards other feelings and acts of sympathy and compassion. And the absence of indifferent or negative emotions and behavior towards others. Now, I suppose in my way of thinking things, light always overcomes darkness. That is very important. So if you're positive, it always overcomes negativity. So it's a very simple solution, really. Think of night and day. Day overcomes night. Light overcomes darkness. Positiveness always overcomes negativeness. Now, interestingly, though, her work found that college students scored at the same level as older adults in her way of measuring wisdom. Yet some difference did emerge. And basically, the difference was that really, as one grows older, one becomes generally more wiser, or more wise, if you wish, but that you have to have the motivation to become wiser, if that's the word to use. So it needs that motivation, it needs that drive, it needs that imagination to become or to gain wisdom. So, you know, you've got to have the drive within yourself to do that. Now, another way is to listen to stories. I won't read the whole story, but the starfish story is quite an interesting one, in as much as a dear old person was going along the shore throwing starfish back in the sea because they were marooned. And some person came up to them and said, "What's the point of doing that? There's thousands of starfish all along the beach." He said, "Well, that's okay. Look," he picked up another one and threw another one in. So it gave him life again. So he said to the person who asked him, well, it made a big difference to that one person. And that's what we all can do, make a difference for just one person, and they in turn will make a difference to others. Excuse me, sorry, for water. Another classic one is the neighbour's lawn, about envy, I suppose, right? And so this guy on one side of the garden fence had a beautiful lush lawn, which had to grow and grew green and beautiful. And every Sunday he had to clean it, to cut it with his lawnmower. And the guy on the other side had a very parched lawn, and which didn't grow at all. And so the man looked over with a parched lawn and wished that he had a beautiful, grazed lawn, green lawn that he could mow. But of course, the man in the with the lawn, which was very very plush and very lovely to look at, looked over the man with the with a non-fertile lawn, if you wish. So wish my lawn wouldn't grow, so I don't have to cut it and everything. So remember, the grass, as they always say, is greener on the other side. It's not necessarily so. There always has to be balance to life. Now, here's some random perspectives. Knowledge is indivisible. So knowledge is indivisible, just a continuum of events. When people grow wise in one direction, they are sure to make it easier for themselves to grow wise in other directions as well. 𝘱𝘢𝘥𝘥, he was, of course, the writer for the space, it's science writer, space writer. A mind that is stretched by a new idea never returns to its original dimension. So that means we're always influenced and we're always continuing to learn with new ideas. And knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. You can tell when a man is clever by his answers, but you can tell when a man is wise by his questions. I can't pronounce his name, it was Magweb, whoever. Now, we all sort of want to grow a garden of wisdom, if you wish, and celebrate with our green fingers. And there's a beautiful picture of a cottage garden in some country, probably the UK, I suppose. So we want to plant. I want to grow 3 rows of peas, if you wish. So it's a play on words, obviously. So peace of mind, peace of heart, and peace of soul. Permit someone else a moment. 3 rows of squash. So we want to try and squash greed, squash anger, squash ego. Sorry about this. 4 rows of lettuce. Let us be kind. Let us be generous. Let us be humble. Let us be helpful. But also we want to squash a few things as well. Again, another planting. Squash selfishness, squash hatred, squash delusion. Oh, it's not getting in, try again here. There we are. Now we've got another 4 rows of peas. I'm sorry about that. But if you can encourage patience, promptness, make our preparation well, and persevere at things. Another 3 rows of lettuce. Let us be compassionate, tranquil, and mindful. Sorry about this one. Turnips. Turn up when needed. Turn up to help. Turn up with a smile. And of course, time is very important. Sorry about this. Time for work. Time for rest. Well, I'd like. Time for partying or playing. And time for caring. And time for ourselves. Very important. And of course, we reap what we sow. Karma, we've had that before. It's just, I'm saying we're just repeating the same thing in very many different perspectives, really, or lots of things. Many of them have commonality. So a bonus in the garden is to have a variety of sage. A sage for a friend, a sage to materially guide us, and a sage to help us with our wisdom and our spiritual growth. And of course, always, encourage in the garden, love, compassion, and wisdom. Now, for those of you who come off the drug habit, ecstasy leads to wisdom as well. Now, ecstasy is the condition that occurs when the body transcends the mind without the loss of consciousness. I'm sure some of us have experienced that, whether it be, psychologically or through induced means. Bruce Wiltshire states in Greek, come on, William. Ecstasis means standing out from the points of space where one body's occupied, so wherever it may be, wherever, and to stand out in the surrounding world and to be caught and possessed by it. The world owns me in a strange sense, but I own it. And he concludes, which I totally agree, if you're in awe of something, you can overcome any addiction. My problem is I've got to get rid of food at the moment. Now, how do we achieve ecstasy? Well, a choice, but may not be in China and other countries. We can use mind-altering drugs, which are expensive, dangerous, addictive, and of course illegal in many countries, and generally can lead to a negative, over a period of time. I'm not saying that this is definite, there's always, but ifs and buts, can lead to a negative change of character. But if we can learn to control our minds and get our change states within ourselves, we're actually changing the chemicals in our body. And it's cheap because we've already got it anyway, and it's always available. And the more one is able to use it, the more easier we can attune to it. And of course, for many, you can't be arrested for your thoughts. And any character shift is normally positive, 99% positive, like the other one's 99% negative. Now, I don't agree with some of this, but I think it's important to put in some things you don't agree with. Acquiring wisdom, according to Sufi master Hazrat Khan, you should analyze ancient writings, and lots of them. Well, I'm slightly dyslexic, so I don't read very much. The religions, spiritual teachings, study the wisdom of teachers, both ancestral and the ones in the present. Sorry, someone else come in here. Sorry. What's happened here? Oh. Oh, come on in. There we are. Yeah, so, and also one's own relatively experiences during this life, which is quite right, of course. Everyone's saying that, it's all relative to one's own personal experiences and what have you. But he also felt, this is what I don't agree with, that not everyone has a rhythm to acquire spiritual or intellectual knowledge. Now, I disagree with that because I think everyone has the ability. It's just that some people don't have the will to do that, or haven't had, haven't had the information to be able to start them on their particular journey. So apart from that, it's okay, but I believe everyone has the ability, not cut off. Anyway, where does your path lead? Interesting. Many people are on a spiritual path, and that leads them back to their soul, whatever the soul may be. It's different things to different people. But I believe everyone is on a spiritual path, but most people just don't know it. So, now spirit rides the wind. Now, how often do we feel these? We have felt a sense of communion, awe and profound gratitude, and being energized with big. Really good questions there. And that's inspired by Bruce Wiltshire. Now, some simple truths. The true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. That's Einstein again. So as I say, none of this is original. It's all out there in the public domain. It's just the question we've got to. Okay. So we've just got to understand that there's so many people's views, and no one's totally wrong, even though I said that the Sufi was wrong. No one's totally wrong, of course. And simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Da Vinci said it, Einstein said it, keep things simple. My memory is bad, so I have to keep things simple. It's perfect for me. But if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Tesla. Now, if you're interested in frequencies, there is a really good one on YouTube. Well, I think it's good because it's mine, but there's a reference down there, or put in Google. I think it's Motivate Community, William Spears, or William Motivate Community, and it will come up. It really is an interesting concept to look at life. So again, what's happened here? Now, Einstein quoted, of course, again, wisdom is not the product of schooling, but of a lifelong attempt to acquire it. So we're all on that path. We're all endeavoring to acquire wisdom in some form or another. So just keep persevering, as we said before. Perseverance is one of the greatest abilities we can possibly have to achieve most things. Now, this is going to be a strange one for some people. Sorry. Someone else, whoops, no, sorry. Good, someone's let you in. Okay, so this is going to seem strange for some people, but there's a reason for this. And if you can sort of take yourself back with your own permission, of course, if you don't want to, please don't do it. But if you have your own position for your permission for your own unconscious, try and do this. And that's going back to a child when you're being in awe, and you have the ability to absorb everything, but make sure it is with your own subconscious agreement. And this is the difference, can make a difference to the way we learn and the way we absorb information. And as we go through this, you'll probably see why. Now, the secrets of childhood wasn't there. Now, we all think in different wavelengths, if you wish, and there are various wavelengths which you've all probably come across. And the first is delta, and they're associated with deep levels of relaxation and restorative sleep. So just simply think of delta for deep relaxation. Theta waves are known as the suggestible waves because their prevalence when one is in a trance or hypnotic state. The kids have that. And alpha waves are the frequency bridge between our conscious thinking, which are beta, and our subconscious theta mind. And beta waves are the high frequency waves most commonly found in humans when they're awake. Now, gamma waves are a more recent discovery in the field of neuroscience. Thus, the understanding of how they function is constantly evolving, which is a polite way to say that, well, I'm not really sure yet, but we've got a good idea. Now, delta waves are, well, it's all straightforward there. I'll work on the optimal range, I think, because I think we know the bad bits. We can just look at that. So we work on the optimal range. So delta waves are healthy, creates a healthy immune system, and it gives us restorative REM sleep. Just have a quick look at the out of sync and the bad ones. So just so you're sort of consciously aware of them. Theta waves, frequency range 3 Hz to 8 Hz. And in this range, we have maximum creativity, deep emotional connection with oneself and others, and greater intuition and relaxation. You know, when you're out of sync of those, if you've got far too much of it, you get problems like ADHD, hyperactivity, anxiety symptoms, etc. But just focus on the positive and forget about the negative. Just be aware of it. Alpha waves, 8 Hz to 12 Hz, and it's ideal for relaxation. Well, gosh, I can get into that quite easily, actually. The out of sync bits, well, just relax and forget that, but just be aware of it. Beta waves. Now, some people say it's 27, some people say it's 40. I'm not a scientist, so I've included both opinions in that. And so with beta waves, strong memory, recall, and high problem-solving ability. My memory's not as good as it should be, so I've got a bit of a waiver on that, so to speak. But it's just that's the essence of beta waves. Now, here's a visualization of brain waves. I saw one the other day. I think Mito did one, and he had some actually moving ones, which are rather fun, actually. And sorry, I haven't got that. But this is probably a better way to look at it. Okay, when you're asleep, delta, deeply relaxed theta, relaxed alpha, alert and focused beta, and high performance, which you all have, of course, when you're ready to come out, for high performance, the gamma waves. Now, with the gamma waves, 2740 up to 100 Hz, it's very good for information processing, recognition, learning, and the binding together with senses, but they're still gathering information when else it does. So keep to the childhood and early teen waves if you can. Dr. made theta waves from 4 to 7, as it says there. In a child, it's great, for learning. In adults, this level of reactivity experienced during sleep, and a powerful level to initiate change. So that's an interesting one for hypnotherapy. Now, from the age of 7 to 14, we live in an alpha state of 8 to 12 circles, and in adults, this is associated with light sleep or eyes closed relaxation. Excuse me. Who says it's just like riding a bicycle, I wonder? When something has been learnt, it cannot be unlearnt. That is sort of correct, in my opinion. It's learned, but it may be learned, but it may be locked back into the subconscious. You can't retrieve it. It's, as Adrian was saying earlier, you go to the 4 stages of learning, from the unconscious, back up to the conscious competence. Yeah, so it's there, but sometimes it cannot be instantly brought back. That has to be practiced. So the optimal level for deep thought is theta, and when in theta, the sense of withdrawn from the external world and focused on the inner one, and provide the most, let's say, profound feelings of peace. Lambda waves. Now, lambda waves are really high oscillating waves, and they do create synchronization of the left and right brain hemispheres. Now, in America, they had a secret thing going on. I can't remember what it's called now. That's my memory. It'll come back in a moment. But anyway, it's basically they were doing exercises to create the left, right, and the left and right brain going together. Which, of course, then you have you can sort of project yourself and have sort of, let's say, fifth sense abilities, and you can sort of look into other people's minds and different places. Interesting. Haven't quite got there myself yet, but should be fun. If any of you do it, just teach me how to do it one day, please. Yeah,
and those papers have been released as well. It was a CIA and some other people that were using it, and those papers are released. So it's not just talk. It's hard fact now.
Good. We'll have to do a research on that then and do a presentation, eh? And now we have hyper gamma and lambda waves. Now these, well, as you can see, most people don't have the ability to assess those, but generally they're present in the presence of Tibetan monks, and they can sit for hours meditating. So the more you meditate, the more you can help develop the gamma and lambda waves. Just Fred, what?
That's quite interesting. The CIA or something like that, they're actually doing, these out-of-body experiences or things that used to be called psychic and woo-woo. But here's the US government and actually like records showing how much work they were doing through accessing the deeper brainwaves or the lambda brainwaves.
Okay, so remember, lambda waves are not the same as lambada. Who's ever danced a lambada? So it's lambda, not lambada. Gosh, it brings back some happy memories. Now, lambda waves, many people may have heard of Wim Hof, nicknamed the Iceman, and he has the ability to control his body temperature and withstand extreme freezing temperatures, and it has a lot to do with this lambda waves. So it's an amazing thing, really. Now, epsilon waves go even further, and basically yogis, when they reach a state of suspended animation, doctors can't check their heartbeat or anything like that. So if anyone gets to that state, goodness me, I admire them tremendously for that. Now, how can we assess these states? Well, endeavor to assess these states. Daily meditation, entrainment tapes. Now, entrainment tapes are like sort of things you listen to, tapes you listen to, or CDs, whatever they may be. But I would suggest research the internet for that, because some people think it's good, some people think it's bad. I'm neither way on that, but I think you should do your own research on that. And also by enhancing one's own innate fledgling intuition. And it's important that we familiarize ourselves with the gamma and delta states, and then our brains will then naturally begin to increase production of the other waves, the beta waves. Now, I'd like to just a gentle reminder. It's an old English nursery rhyme, But I'd like to say it to you, if I may, because I think it has a lot of wisdom in four short little points, really. And that is, excuse me, a wise old owl lived in an oak. The more he saw, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. We should learn from that wise old bird. So we have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. So look, listen, ask a few questions. So the logic behind that, when we listen, meditate, we get into a space of silence, a kind of stillness within, where we learn not to react to everything around us. And we learn to choose where and how to spend our energies. And we learn to ignore the trivialities around us. So remember, where we focus our energy, well, our attention rather, is where our energy goes. A simple, but very explicit use of energy. Where you focus your attention, the energy goes. Now, I reckon wisdom descends gently upon the wise. Who knows? Are there any shortcuts to wisdom?
William, if you could ask a quick question. William, someone brought up a question just before. Why would we want to access these states? That was in line with the 𝘠𝘠 or the epsilon states. Why would we want to access these states?
Well, I think it very much depends on our own personal desires or outcomes we want in life, okay? So if we want to become a guru, we develop and focus on that, but that takes years and years living in a cave on your own somewhere, you know? But normally, if you want to learn, if you want to assess and learn things more, it's if you try to assess the theta state, that is very helpful to absorb knowledge and the similar. So it depends your own personal goal, if you wish, or outcome you wish to gain, to which particular wave you quickly go on. But if you go to gamma waves, if one is able to do that, one can absorb most things, and everything else develops with it. But gamma is still quite a high thing to achieve. But just whatever suits you, you do. It's simple as that, really. There's no real reason apart from the reason that the individual wants to make a reason to do it, basically. Does that answer the question, do you think?
Yeah, it does. And I'll add on just the middle frequencies, the theta, the alpha, the beta. This is what we do in our day-to-day, and it's really good. You really want to have access down to the alpha, the theta. And when you go to sleep, you really should be able to get down into a deep delta, right? But if you are a regular meditator, perhaps look at some entrainment to get up into the higher gamma and the epsilon. You know, there are some tracks you can find, but obviously you got to research. And I kind of figured that if you do like 10, 20 minutes of gamma meditation or something like the Wim Hof, or 5, 10 minutes down the epsilon, I figured that would be a bit of a stretch. What do you think there, William? I reckon if you do a bit of gamma and epsilon, that would kind of stretch your brain capacity.
Well, it's a bit like exercise, really. I'm not a very good example of doing exercise, I can assure you. But the more exercise I do, the fitter I become. So the more you exercise your own mind, in any respect, the fitter that becomes and attuning to whatever you want to achieve. So yes, yeah, I totally agree with you. Just do it. You know, don't talk about it, just do it, really, in reality. Sorry about that. Okay. So are there shortcuts to wisdom? I wish there was, my goodness. Now, someone says there's no shortcuts and no toll ways to be wise. You know, you can't pay to get there. But no short road, but maybe a route map. There are no shortcuts to anywhere that's worth going. So it's not easy, but it's achievable. Right, now does wisdom imply humility? Now Plato, Socrates rather, in Plato, he says, I am wiser than he is to this small extent that I do not think that I know what I do not know. Does that make sense? Yes, it does make sense. So I'm wiser than he is to a small extent. I do not think that I know what I do not know. That's sensible. And Aristotle's dictum says, it is impossible to be practically wise without being good. interesting. So that theme comes through many thoughts as we go through this this discovery of wisdom. And of course, master your inner world to succeed your outer world. So as it said before, master yourself, and the wise, as a Chinese saying, that's right. When you master your knowledge is the wise person is the one who masters himself. Now, these are some strange, but obviously obvious ideas. Chat to an older generation or talk to older people. Mind you, some of them aren't they're interesting, but some of most older people have made mistakes, and you can learn from their mistakes. But the trouble is, when we're younger, we never learn from other elders' mistakes. We want to make that mistake ourselves, which is a big problem. We only learn that when we're older. Learn from our own past experience. Wear other people's shoes, really important. Put yourself in their shoes, look at it from their perspective. And if you enjoy reading, unfortunately I don't, pick up an appropriate book. Challenge to discuss genuine friends. I'm saying it's like groups like the Community Motivate group. It's really interesting to chat, discuss, and encourage your own interests to unfold and develop. As I said before, we have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth, so look and listen a lot and only ask appropriate questions. Google, YouTube, okay, but be aware of the fake stuff. A lot of fake stuff nowadays. But most importantly, and I believe this is so incredibly important, like being in that forest earlier, the grove in the forest, be in awe of Mother Earth, nature, and the universe. Really important. Also remember, never assume. Question things, have an open mind. Enjoy the wonders of nature, as I said before, the micro states of Mother Earth. Keep well hydrated. Yes, I know this is I must drink more water, sorry. Drink plenty of water, not too much booze. Well, it all depends. Stretch your envelope, as you say, stretch yourself. Do things you think you perhaps would like to do but haven't done in the past. Face your demons. Face your demons. What do you think? So I don't want to do that. Do it. Then they'll just fade away, those demons. Be self-aware and mindful. What other resources we have? We mentioned Google, textbooks, friends' knowledge, specialist circles and clubs, and so on. But also we have our own filters and belief systems. Our own intuition says us, our own inner voice. We can meditate, whatever form that suits you. Some people just go to sleep, Some people actually focus on something, whatever they want to. Soulmates, spiritual guides, shaman. Now, shaman, for many people, is like witchcraft, but it's not, I can assure you. Shaman have the ability to let's say, open doors that we don't consciously think about. Muscle testing, of course, kinesiology. As we did that before, remember the muscle testing with the yes or no answer of your muscles. And of course, like we said, we were like-minded, well, whatever comes to you, basically. If you think it's right, do it, as long as you feel it's right. Now, other magical routes to wisdom, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, the Quester's Guide, many books and websites can be easily referenced. NLP practitioner is an excellent basic tool. I mentioned Adrian again. I'm sorry, Adrian, but I think he's got one coming up soon. So I say there are other people, of course. I'm not saying just do Adrian and that's the only one, of course not. But Adrian is available, contactable, and he's good. So I would, if you're interested, make contact with him. And if you want an LHOG with me, sorry about it, and it's free, please check that one out, which is quite useful on YouTube. Now, geometric wisdom of the connected universe. Now, this is going to be strange for some people. I'm so sorry if you don't agree with it. Just say, well, this man's mad, but I can assure you it's actually correct. The universe and all matter, energy is comprised and behaves as a unified whole system, like Einstein's unified field, even Robert Dilts, the unified field. you know, it's everything is connected. Even we are connected today, and you know, even though we're miles apart, we're still connected, and we can have that connection through whatever it may be, the ether, whatever it is. And wisdom comes through understanding the fundamental patterns of wholeness. And the whole thing is holographic throughout. And the process of organization includes an inherent feedback system looped through the factual and holographic matrix. Okay, that's difficult to visualize, but it is there. And this feedback exists an ever-evolving intelligence throughout the entire cosmic system. So in actual fact, if you can treat the cosmic system like our bodies, if you wish, it's actually a living organism. And sometimes we don't do things to help ourselves, do we, unfortunately? And the space between objects is full of vast energy potential that seamlessly connects all things. Now, I can't remember if I mentioned it later, but there's a thing, people think atoms are the smallest, but in actual fact, the photon is an invisible electric energy generator that connects everything. Anyway, sorry. So here's some geometric patterns. They're quite mesmeric in many ways. The universal spiral, the essence of all things. Look at the shells we see on the seashore. Look at the flowers, if you wish. They're all still happening in geometric patterns. There was some geometry of the universe, all different things. Now this one is, I think, probably the most exciting one for me anyway, but that's only my perception. And if you focus on it for a few moments, maybe we don't have long enough time today, but if you do see it again, focus on the center and allow nothing. Sorry, I go to sleep already. Yeah, so all these things have an effect on us. But only you know, but you must allow your subconscious to allow you. That really is important. Never do things against what you feel is not right for you. So yeah, so if you get the chance to see this one again, please do. It really is very, very useful for one's path. Now, sacred geometry and wisdom concludes that there's an intrinsic order of the universe. We mentioned that before. Organization relates from the whole to the individual and vice versa, so everything is all connected. The microcosm reflects the macrocosm and vice versa. It is both esoteric and exoteric, which is the little and the big, the seen and the unseen, the finite and the infinite, and nature and its form buzz with oscillations, waveforms, rhythms, cycles, and vibrations. Well, you know me and the frequency. So in reality, life is just a pulsating, wonderful orchestra, if you wish. And the self-organizing force manifests infinite diversity. You know, I know we talk about doppelgangers, but there's no two humans on the earth are actually the same. It's crazy, isn't it? More than billions of people we have. Oh, wrong way. Okay, there are many other ways to help: hypnotherapy, hypnosis. Importantly, the self-hypnosis, that's with the theta, you know, the what have you, those the waves. Now, the havening technique is an interesting one. I don't have time to go into it, but basically it's a technique of touching yourself and moving your eyes around, you know. To me, it's an extension of NLP anchoring and, you know, moving the, let's say, all the bits in the brain, you know, all together. So it's worth, if you have time, that's worth looking at. And also the Rakoff effect. Now, the Rakoff effect is not very well known, but it does work. And I'm going to tell you simply because but only allow yourself to believe it if you think it's correct. Okay. So you imagine yourself. Say someone has a skill that you want. Okay. So you imagine that person in front of you, and then you actually. This is a shortened version. Okay. You actually swap heads. So you bring that person's head, sounds crazy, isn't it? Bring that person's head onto your head and allow everything within the neurology of that head to also conjoin with your own. Only do it if you think it's right for you, because it could be a bit dangerous for some people. So yeah, so the Rykov effect, that's worth exploring as well. Now, some gentle thoughts, because we've had a few sort of unusual thoughts. What was learned cannot be unlearned. We mentioned that before. And those at the top of the mountain did not fall there. Well, unless they dropped from a plane, of course. But this is in the essence of, if you want to get somewhere, you've got to work at it. Dance like nobody's watching. Well, we all know that. Work like you don't need money, so enjoy. I know that's not easy for everyone. I do appreciate that. I'm not, belittling, because it's not easy. I know I've been through times in life where you've got to do things you don't want to do, but you've got to do it. But if you get a situation where you work and you don't need the money, that'd be wonderful. Now, perspectives. As some people say dandelion is a weed, but many others are in awe of nature's gift, because it's simple and yet it's so complex. So there's always a different view to look at things. Fact, not conspiracy, is correct. So questioning is an aspect of wisdom. If one just accepts what one is told, one becomes part of a herd, probably part of a sheeple, so to speak. Come to that in a moment. And my friend Descartes, from 400 or so years ago, 500 years ago now, he said in Latin, dubito ergo cogito, cogito ergo sum. I doubt, therefore I think. And because I think, therefore I am. So I'm here. I'm thinking, so I'm here, which is quite a useful way. Now, wise question overcomes the programming matrix. So we don't want to become where we are now, to become a sheeple, easily led like sheep. Don't assume, don't make an ass out of you and me. Assume nothing, question everything. Now, coming to the final overview, if you wish. The cosmos speak to us in patterns. We need to find those patterns by using all our senses and more, of course, seeing, hearing, touch, smell, taste, and most importantly, developing our intuition and wisdom. Some random thoughts. You can't step into the same river twice. So remember, a river constantly changes its water. It's like life, really, and it meanders over time. What worked today with something may not work tomorrow. Always update an assessment, well, some people assumption to some, about the reality of the moment. Any participation in an issue changes the people and situations involved too. And that which opposes produces benefits. Problems force us to be creative. Routine can be harmful when they stop us from being positive alternatives. And always look to the opportunity in a problem. And be the conductor of your life's orchestra. A wonderful harmony is enjoyed when joining together. Connect to the unconnected. Joining together unrelated ideas stimulates us to think and is at the heart of the creative process. And everything flows. Focus on change. Even the most stable of things is constantly changing. Changes can be intermittent and not steady, of course. And what patterns do you see in people's behaviors? And appreciate the now moment. Appreciate now. Be an explorer. Seekers of wisdom must open their minds in all aspects. You need to be an explorer, combining ideas and creating more ideas, and ideas are everywhere. And if all was smoke, what's smoke and mirrors, the nose would be the most discriminating organ. So always pay attention to all the information around you. Ask what if to help recognize opportunity. And again, we say it yet again, stretch your envelope. Now, the most exciting order is a pile of random ideas with no order. Now, I know that's strange for many people, but try and find meaning in random ideas. Open the mind to ideas you think have no connection with an issue. And knowing many things does not always teach insight. Play with what you know. So approach life like a child. the game, moving bits around, play with it. Excuse me, sorry. Experiment with it, laugh with it, be in awe of it, but never ever be afraid of it. That really is critical. And have no preconceived ideas or assumptions about it, about anything. The circle of life, well, as we know, seawater can be destructive to humans, but it's okay for fish. We've done all those things before. One thing I will come to in a moment is the Walt Disney strategy. And on a circle, and any endpoint can be a starting point. So any point on that circle, you can start or end. Interesting. So change the way you think about a situation, reframe the issue. That's NLP again. Now, Walt Disney is alleged strategy. Walt Disney has, yes, an interesting person, to say the least. So he looked at things from three, apart from his own way, with three different. Someone in there, yeah. From three other different ways. So his own normal position, that's like me now, if you wish. And then he put it like a dreamer. How can you make this wonderful and exciting, but fairy tale land? And then he looked at it like being a realist. Well, I'm not sure about that. Should we do this? Should we change that? And then
this Walt Disney strategy is fundamentally a process Walt Disney used to use, of using three different frames to come up with these movies. A lot of people, when they look at a problem, they do it at their computer or do it at the wall. A lot of people will do the whole thing from the same spot. So they try to solve the whole problem at the same spot, where Walt Disney would utilize a couple of locations for his work. All right, William, to come back. Oh, you're on mute at the moment. And this is what most people do. Most people will use a computer and they try to do their problem solving, take their personal calls, do absolutely everything from the same spot. And it's not really a good way to access wisdom or access greater intelligence. There we go. What was it? I was just showing the Walt Disney strategy yesterday to a young business leader. They were having some troubles with their business, not wisdom so much, but we use the Walt Disney process to help them get insight with the business.
So wear magic perception spectacles, look for the hidden order. What are you not seeing? What is hidden from me? What I may be hiding myself. Okay, then here we are. So wear the other hats and shoes. So every day, the rhythm of life changes, creating new symphonies to be heard. So sometimes best to be a new musical conductor. So always be a thoughts, word, feelings, and actions have all vibrational frequencies which produce new situations. Now, this is actually the basis, the secret of the law of attraction, but that's another story. So sometimes be a magician and control and match or create those frequencies. Or appear as smoke and mirrors. So sometimes best to be an explorer to cover the essence of things. Always connect with your ever inquisitive inner child. Yeah, the macro and the micro, okay? It matches everything. It's a preview of life's coming attractions, but don't overlook the small details. Here it says atoms. I think I mentioned this before, but actually photons is a massless neutral thing that mediates electromagnetic interactions. And this in actual fact is how we communicate, let's say, at a distance, if you wish. That quantum communication actually goes through photons. Okay, so on the quest, please be a butterfly, a dove, and the wise-eyed owl. Now, the poor butterfly hasn't joined us. He's afraid of being eaten by the dove and the wise-eyed owl. So, Adrian, if you could just press it again. Ah, there it is. So the butterfly is in safe space now. But also never forget that child, forgetting the child within. It's something that, but just put everything together, have fun, enjoy. I do hope this session is and a little enjoyable.
Boom! You made it here. Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.